Miraz, and this is my presentation over calculating weighted average cost of capital and the capital structure of Home Depot. We're going to solve for the weighted average cost of capital using two different methods to find RE. And in order to compute the weighted average cost of capital, we must compute the following. So the first thing we need to compute is the weight for each for the WACC. So it's going to be it would be the weight for your market cap equity, your debt, and your preferred stock. Fortunately, Home Depot doesn't have any preferred stock, so we're going to be stuck with equity and debt. In order to find that, you need to go to Yahoo Finance and find the value of your market cap equity and your total debt. Once you do that, you add these two together and you get a total value of Once you do this, you divide each of the values for market cap equity and debt divided by the total value, and as you see here highlighted, and that gives you 0.82 for your weight for market cap equity, and then for debt it's going to be 0.1808. Next, after you find the weight, you need to download all of the return for Home Depot and your SPY, which is just the market for over a 2-year period. So this is what all these numbers are here for. And then once you do that, you need to find the standard deviation for both the percentage return for both the market and the percentage return of Home Depot. So for that, you need to do, I just did the function of sample standard deviation, and that gave me, and I put in all the values, and that gave me a final value of 2.088%. And I repeated the same process for Home Depot, and that gave me a value of 3.137%. Next, you're going to need to find your market risk premium for CAPM, which CAPM is just one of the methods we're going to be using to find the rate of equity. And in order to do that, you need to first find basically you need to find the last price for 2018, and because we are solving for 2019, so we have to use the year previous, and that's going to be 247.6996, and then we're going to subtract it by the first price, which was issued on the January 1st, 2018, which is going to be 263.33. And once you do that, you divide it by the last price of 2018, and that gives you a value of negative 6.313%. I repeated the same process for 2020, so I just did the last price of 2019 and the first price, or the last price of 2018, because that was closer more to January 1st than this one was. And that gave me a value of 23.041%. And in order to find your market risk premium, this is going to be the average of these two, which I put it in the function, for Excel, equal average, and highlighted both of these cells. And that gave me 8.364%. And that's just going to be your market risk premium for CAPM. But first, before we finish CAPM, we need to find your rate of equity for using the dividend growth model. And in order to find that, we're going to go to this page. In order to find that, we need to download all the dividend payouts that Home Depot has made over a 5-year period. So as you can see here, it starts on March 10th, 2015. And at the time of this recording, or at the time I did this, March had not passed, so we were left with 12/4/19. And for this, we're going to need to find the growth of the overall values of the dividends. In order to find this, since it is a quarterly paying dividend, we're going to find where the next cycle of dividends comes into play. So for example, the first dividend was paid on March 10th, 2015. So I found the next dividend, which started when it started in March, and that was on March 8th, 2016. So what I did was I got the 69-cent value dividend and I subtracted it from the first one, which was 59 cents, and then I divided it by 59 cents again, and it got me a value of 16.95%. I then repeated the same process for the next three percentages, and as you can see here, I highlight all of them. And then in order to find your growth, I just found the average of these four, and that gave me 23.43%. And that's just going to go into your dividend growth model, which is going to plug in right here. Okay, and then when looking at the dividend growth model, we need to find D1 and price 0. And to find dividend 1, we need to find dividend 0. And in order to find dividend 0, we need to use the last dividend payout that we had, which was on December 4th, 2019, and multiply it by 4 because these dividends are paid out quarterly. And that gives you a value of $5.44. And then once you find that, you're going to multiply your $5.44, your dividend 0, by 1 plus the growth rate, and that gives you a value of 6.71 for your dividend 1. Once you find dividend 1, you're going to want to go ahead and just plug it in. So, for example, it's going to be dividend 1 divided by price 0 plus growth. We have dividend 1 and growth, and your price 0 is going to be your last value for Home Depot, which is, for me, is 216 and 92.87, so it's 216.93. And once you divide it by that and add it by the growth, you get a rate of equity of 26.52%. And that's going to be used for the first method when we were finding the weighted average cost of capital. The next method is we're going to go ahead and find CAPM. So in order to find CAPM, we've already found our market risk premium, so we need to find our beta. And in order to find beta, I went ahead and did a data analysis in Excel, and it clicked on regression, and I highlighted, for the Y value, I highlighted the percentage value of Home Depot, and for the X value, I went ahead and highlighted all the values for the market. And once I ran the regression, to find beta, it's going to be this number right here. It's going to be your X variable, which is going to be 1.00628,973. And once you find that value, you're going to want to go ahead and go back to your CAPM equation, and you're going to go ahead and plug in everything. Now, we went ahead and found a risk-free rate from an outside source, and we just went ahead and plugged it in as well. So once we solve this equation, it gives us a rate of equity of 8.41%. And those will be going into your CAPM model. Your weighted average cost of capital for the second method. Now, next, we need to find our rate of debt. And in order to do this, we need to find all of the issued bonds that our company had issued. So Home Depot had issued 28 bonds at the time of this recording. And it gave us, for each of these bonds, it gave us our yield to maturity and the value of each of these bonds. And what we needed to find was the weight and the weighted yield to maturity. To find the weight, we just needed to add up all of these values, as you can see here, using the sum function. And we need to, and to find the weight, we just need to divide each value from each bond by the total, and that gives us these weights here. And to find the weighted yield to maturity, you're just going to want to multiply your yield to maturity by your weight, and that gives you these numbers here. And when you add all of these numbers together, you're going to get your rated debt before tax. So I went ahead and got this 2.2713. And if you divide it by 100, it turns it into a percentage. So that's going to be the same value, 2.2713%. And it's going to be your rated debt before tax. And then I found a tax off a 10-year T-bond, which was 24%. And then following, we needed to find your after-tax rate of debt. So what we did was it's going to be your rate of debt times 1 minus your tax rate. So I just went ahead and plugged everything in. So I moved this value down here, and I did 1 minus 24%, which gave you 76%. And when you multiply these two values together, you get a after-tax rate of debt of 1.7262%. And now once you have all of these calculated and done, it's time to start formulating your WACC equation. Now, fortunately for us, like I said earlier, there was no preferred stock, so these values remain 0 and are canceled out. And for our first one, we used the rate of equity using our DGM model. And here you can see we basically plugged everything in: your rate of equity, your weight of equity, your after tax, and your weighted debt. We multiplied your weight by your rate for both your debt and your equity, and then we multiplied both of these products, and we got a final value of 22.04%, and that is going to be using your DJM model. Now, using your CAPM model, we had a lower value in rate of equity at 8.41% instead of 26.52%, but doing the same for as we did for the first one, it gives you a value of 7.20%. And with this information, we can conclude that that I believe that Home Depot should restructure their capital to compensate for their extremely low stockholders' equity. Now, their equity here seems to be very high, which is very true. But if you go into more detail and look at their stockholders' equity, it's at a negative $1.9 billion. And this is a major red flag for investors. It makes investors worried that they're not paying off their debt in time. And I believe that if we were to increase Home Depot's equity to compensate and earn back those investors, it'll gain us additional capital as well. And with that additional capital, we could pay back most of Home Depot, if not all Home Depot's loans or debt that they own, and finance new projects that will increase their retained earnings, therefore increasing their stockholders' equity. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.